Good morning, friends and family. How are you this morning? I hope everyone is doing well. It's a beautiful day here today. It's a little brisk, so I have on my little jacket because I'm sitting in the shade. But the sun is nice and warm when you're sitting outside, and no clouds in the sky, just a beautiful clear morning. My name is Angelina, and I am the author of the book, Emancipation Can Be for All Who Want It. I really am so thankful this morning, friends and family, because one, it's Friday, and so I'm looking forward to enjoying my rest on the Sabbath and preparing for it is also a joy. I'm also very thankful because the topic that I wanted to talk with you today in regards to emancipation can be for all who want it. Summarizing the last chapters of the book of Genesis. Now, when I started this channel, I was hoping to do a series from the book of Genesis. And I'm glad I did start in that direction because the book of Genesis has so much that has helped me in my journey of emancipation, because I came to realize how from the very beginning, our Creator wanted us to be free. So when we hear and when we've read that the Messiah said that the truth will set you free, this was something that he was making reference to, was part of his Father's original purpose for us to be free. So as I woke up this morning and I was studying and just reading and preparing just myself really for the day and finishing my reading again from the final books of Genesis, I actually thought of you. I thought of my friends and family because, to be honest, I really wasn't going to do a video today because yesterday's video that I did was in regards to hope and how without hope we can't have faith. And without faith, first of all, without hope, there is no freedom. Because without any hope, you feel bound and no way out. And with hope, there's faith that things will get better. And so I actually was planning to just leave with that for this week. But as I was reviewing the lesson that I was studying this morning, I went back to the last few chapters of Genesis. And as I said, it made me think about you. And so in my thought process and in my prayers, I just jotted down some notes of things that I thought might be encouraging and upbuilding to you as it was for me. So I'm going to take the time and share with you. I'm going to be looking at my notes, share with you what thoughts I gathered from the last 3 chapters of the book of Genesis. And it was a lot, friends. It really opened my eyes to some things within myself that, as I've shared with you before, if we don't keep reminding ourselves of the freedom that we have, we can so easily fall back into bondage and into slavery. And that bondage of slavery can be from an outside source, or it can be because of our internal beliefs and ideologies and traditions that we grew up in. And so I was meditating on some beliefs and traditions and ideologies that I experienced in my life. And it made me think about you. So follow me with this journey of thought that I had this morning as I was doing my lesson, and see if it resonates with you in any way, or maybe someone in your family. Okay, let's get started. As I said, I'm going to be looking at my notes, but I will always look back up because I know you're there. Let me just clean my glasses a little bit, because as I was moving around, I had my fingers on them. But that's a lot better. All right. So the first thing that I wrote in my notes was, the last chapter of Genesis tells us of the rulership of Joseph as a governor of Egypt, how the Egyptians never fully accepted him as an Egyptian or unequal to them. There was the air of superiority, and they looked at him and his people as being inferior. Many of the people in Yeshua's day looked at him and those who followed him this way as well. An example of how we know they looked at Joseph as inferior to them is in Genesis chapter 43, verse 32, and I'll read that. And it's taken from the LSB. So they set the meal for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians who ate with them, they themselves, because the Egyptians, they ate by themselves because the Egyptians could not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination to the Hebrews. This shows, even though these Egyptians who were servants to Joseph felt as though the Israelite brothers of Joseph and Joseph himself, who was an Israelite, were not worthy enough to eat with. The Egyptians viewed even Joseph as an abomination to eat with him. This brought some thoughts to me, and so I'll share those with you. They had a caste system, allowing others of less prominence to stay in their place. Certain categories of society. So even the servants felt superior to Joseph because of their ethnicity, because they were Egyptian. Even though Joseph was the governor at that time, they felt superior even to him because of this caste system. Made me think about today, many live under the same ruling structure. And when our Messiah left the earth, it became more apparent that even though Yeshua Messiah did wonderful, powerful works, many were grateful for what he did. Yet the caste system still remained. Even Peter, when he was told to go to Cornelius, a Roman army officer's home, in Acts chapter 10, Yeshua came to him in a vision and said these words. Acts chapter 10, verse 15, LSB. Again, a voice came to him a second time. What God has cleansed, no longer consider defiled. Another account in Acts chapter 15, verse 7 through 10, reads this way. And after there had been much debate, Peter stood up and said to them, brothers, you know that in the early days God made a choice among you that by my mouth the Gentiles would hear the word of the gospel and believe. Verse 8, and God who knows the heart testified to them, giving them the Holy Spirit, just as he also did to us. And he made no distinction between us and them, cleansing their hearts by faith. Verse 10, now therefore, why do you put God to the test by placing upon the necks of the disciples a yoke which neither our fathers nor we have been able to bear? Peter was getting the sense of what Yeshua had told him. Stop calling what God has cleansed defiled. But it doesn't stop there. In John chapter 4, we listen and hear about the conversation that Yeshua had with the Samaritan woman at the well. Let's listen to that. John chapter 4 and verse 21 to 24. It reads, Jesus said to her, woman, believe me, an hour is coming when neither in this mountain nor in Jerusalem will you worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, For salvation is from the Jews. But an hour is coming, and now is when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For such people, the Father seeks to be his worshipers. 24. God is a spirit. Those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth. Now, many of us are familiar with, many of these verses that I've read. I'm familiar with many of these verses that I've read. But friends and family, I'm going to be totally honest with you. In my reading of these very familiar scriptures, I never really connected them back to the book of Genesis, back to the last few chapters, and how Joseph was treated by the Egyptians, even though the position that he had of making sure that they had abundant amount of food supply to get them through the 7 years of famine. They were all very glad and happy that Joseph came up with the idea of how to protect them, to save their lives during this very critical time. But yet, as grateful as they were for the provisions that were provided to them, they still looked down on Joseph and his people. The same was true with the Messiah. Even though Messiah came from the lineage of the nation of Israel, there was still a caste system. There was the Levitical tribe, and there was the Judah tribe. There was all the 12 tribes of Israel. And sadly, even those within the tribes would look down upon each other if they were not in a position of what they felt was prominence or authority. So this is why even the Messiah, when he walked this earth, he was viewed as the carpenter's son. He wasn't viewed as just a brother, a fellow Israelite. He was viewed as someone inferior. So this thought process that I was having in regards to the relation to these verses and Genesis with Joseph and the Israelites continued, and I started giving it even more thought. I'd like to share with you what those thoughts were as well. Now, this is right after I was thinking about what Peter had said. And this is what I wrote. Forgetting that Abraham, the father of faith, was promised that he would become the father of many nations before there was Israelites. And what it was like when they were slaves and also alienated from Yah. The laws were given to them from the Creator, not to make them superior, but to teach them how and what it would be like to have the favor and the acceptance of their Creator. He gave them these laws to give them an example of how they should behave, how they should treat others, what type of God He was. Instead of abiding by these laws, the Israelites again and again broke these laws. So I'm going to continue in what other notes that I realized from what Peter was saying in regards to their forefathers had this yoke on them. So why would we want to bind others under a yoke? The purpose of the yoke was to be an example and teach them, but they didn't learn from it. So why should we put others under this yoke, which did not benefit us? Now, I guess I need to go back for those who don't know about the account in Acts chapter 15. What Peter was talking about was circumcision. They were trying to get the Gentile nations to become circumcised in order to be accepted into the way that Christ was telling them to bring people to. They were not called Christians. They were the way, because Christ was the way they was going to be set free. So this conversation that Peter is having with his brothers regarding the Gentiles is in reference to this idea of wanting the Gentiles to get circumcised. And that's the reason why he's explaining to them, why are we putting burdens on these people that Christ, the Messiah, did not tell us to put on them? This was not part of the good news that the Messiah had shared with them to share with others. Circumcision was not a part of it, but they were making this a part of it because of their ideologies, their caste system, in their own minds, and in the culture that they were raised and taught under. This made me really think about my own culture, my own, so to speak, caste system of structure that I grew up under. You know, no matter where you grow up, what I'm realizing, no matter where in the world you grow up, there is either knowingly or unknowingly a caste system that sometimes we are a part of, that we allow ourselves to feel superior to others. We allow ourselves to look down on others only because in somewhere in our mind or in our family structure or in our cultural structure, we've been taught to believe that by having certain things or being able to be educated in a certain way or having the opportunities that other people don't have, either due to inheritance or due to disability. And it can be physical, mental, or emotional disability. We have been taught and trained to look down on other people who don't meet our standard. And this is what Yeshua was trying to free his apostles and disciples from. And so Peter, being a person who was directly influenced by the Messiah in regards to Cornelius, on stop calling what the Heavenly Father has cleansed as defiled. Peter was now sharing with his brothers, just like he had to learn that with Cornelius. He wants them to also remember and learn this when it comes to the Gentiles that now are coming into the fold of Christ. So I'm going to continue with some other points that came to my mind that was very encouraging. And I'm pondering over this weekend as well. And as I continue, and yet they were forgiven time and time again, and sent the Messiah, who through death would set them in the freedom and relationship with the way Abraham had an intimacy with the Creator. Many of these laws they were under, the Levitical priesthood had instituted these laws. Yeshua Messiah, Jesus Christ, said he fulfilled the Levitical priesthood laws. He fulfilled those. He didn't abolish them, he fulfilled them. But breaking traditions and religious beliefs were going to be very difficult to break and set them apart from others, mainly because consequences, of what this would mean in these communities and families, they could not submit. They knew that if they accepted these Gentile people the way they were in their community and in their families, they would not be accepted. They viewed it just like the Egyptian viewed Joseph, an abomination. That's intense hatred. But I went on with this thought process. Today is no different. Backgrounds or cultures are difficult to overcome. I asked myself, am I allowing religious thinking to make me feel that because someone is of a different background or religious persuasion, to me, appears less than I am? Or do I let them make me feel they are superior to me? That's a question I ask myself. Self-examination is necessary. And when I remember what was written, knowing I want to be free from religious and traditional beliefs, following the way, the truth, and life laid before me, I prayed for a better understanding and discernment regarding this human tendency of being taught there is only one truth or there is no truth. Isaiah chapter 55 verse 8, excuse me, friends, help me. Maybe it might help you as well. I'm going to read it. Isaiah chapter 55 verse 8 and 9. It says, "For your thoughts are not my thoughts, nor your ways my ways, declares Yahuwah. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so my ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." So this was my process of thinking. So because of from the beginning, there was not supposed to be superiority of humans. We are brothers and sisters depending on whose children we want to become. Yet, if we were children of the Most High, we recognize ourselves as brothers and sisters, no superiority. But if not, John chapter 8, verse 44 to 56, please read that for yourself and see what thoughts you get from that. Another point that I got was, I'm learning about is the idea that maybe someone else's truth is better than the truth of God. Can I adopt their truth and lifestyle and accept that because that will be more acceptable? This will cause me and us to be like the Israelites, abandoning the Messiah's instruction for what is easier and acceptable. What's right is not always easy, friends and family. It's also not always familiar. And what I put in my notes is, this tests my love and trust in the Messiah and the Most High way and the purpose He has for my life. So I ask you, friends and family, what about you? Do you think these types of ideas are affecting our freedom? Do you think these types of ideas can affect your freedom? I personally answered the question for myself that it is affecting my freedom. And so I want to continue to pray to break free from the ideologies, the belief system, the caste system of others are superior to me or inferior. Because if we are all trying to follow the way, the truth, and the life that Yeshua is presenting to us, Jesus Christ died for us to have, then I need to break free from this thought pattern that I have, had, or am around. And it won't be easy. It will bring consequences. And I'm aware of that. I've experienced a lot of it already. Because of not believing the way I formerly believed, there are those who feel superior to me, and they no longer want to have anything to do with me. But yet, these same ones claim to follow Yahuwah and his son, Yeshua. And friends, it's no different than what the Messiah experienced. His own family members, for a while, thought he was crazy. Many of them didn't even listen to him. They didn't follow him until after he died. So it's not new. It's not new even from the book of Genesis. There is nothing new under the sun. So friends, this is the reason why I appreciate the holy writings of the Word of God. But the one thing that this lesson has taught me is I don't set the Word of God above who He is. These are His instructions, just like the laws was His instructions, is His instructions on how to have the best life and how to have a good relationship with Him. They are not Him. He is greater than laws, than His instructions. He and His Son, He told us, we will not ever understand Him fully. No, nobody. Because His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. It's always going to be higher than us. The angels are not on the level of the Most High and His Son. They bow to Him. So for us here on earth to have this superior attitude over others is no different than what Ecclesiastes says when it says man wants to dominate man, and all it does is bring injury. So I'm aware of what this type of belief system does to the human family. And friends and family, I don't want to be a part of it anymore. I don't want to think like this. So my prayer is that I continue to grow in the way that Yeshua was teaching his apostles and his disciples to grow in. And my hope and prayer is that you will, do the same, because it really does mean a better life. And it really can mean a purposeful life. I thank you so much for enjoying this time with me through the book of Genesis. Thank you. Because by sharing these thoughts with you, it sounds them down deep into my heart and mind. And I hope that you will be able to share your thoughts from this journey with others and with me. I look forward to talking with y'all again. I'm not sure if I will be speaking with you on Sunday, but if I don't speak with you, with the Father's will, and when it is His will, we will speak again soon. I love you all, and I hope you have a wonderful, purposeful, and restful weekend. See you soon.